Hi everyone, it's Emma here from the Marketing Acceleration Summit. Thank you all so very much for coming to the Marketing Acceleration Summit last week. I really appreciated it. I think it was a wonderful day. There was great feedback and I'm hoping you guys all learned a ton from the Marketing Acceleration Summit. So I just wanted to go over a couple of things. Essentially for this recording, I'm wanting that you guys understand what it is about how you map out a marketing strategy, because that's the main thing that you guys need to be focusing on. Because and what I mean is, obviously there's digital marketing, there's PR, there's all the different elements of marketing that we covered on the day. However, in order to know where you're going, you need to just make a plan. It's very much like, obviously, if you're driving from Cork to Dublin or from Dublin to Cork or wherever you're going, you would obviously make a plan as to how you're going to get there, what route you're going to take, and if you're going to take any breaks or whatever it is you're going to do in the meantime. So it's really important that you guys understand what it is to map it out. Now, obviously last week I helped you guys looking about the building blocks of marketing, which is kind of going back to basics. We had Christina Jones on digital marketing, Victoria Mary Clark on PR, Melissa Curley on communications and talking and speaking and how to communicate more effectively. We had Aideen Curtin on branding, Susie Ladola on the business live tools, Dermot Fitzgerald on pivoting and marketing and bringing business to the UK and so on. We had Michael Cleary being the best marketer and how to overcome challenges in business, and also, as I said, he runs 3 businesses as well. So great to hear from the Tutti Frutti guys. I missed the slot before lunch because of the tech difficulties, and that's what I'm going to cover now. We had Trassa Sprague about getting moving and resilience. She was awesome as well. So really fantastic speakers who I'd really like to thank from the bottom of my heart. We then obviously had Gavin Duffy talking about smart marketing. And again, Gavin went through looking at radio, looking at newspaper ads, and a variety of other very common sense approach to marketing, which I think a lot of you would have got a lot from. So without further ado, again, just to look at what marketing is, just to reiterate a couple of things for you guys, because you had to listen to so many people. It's been a week, and I'm sure a lot of you had a very busy week catching up afterwards and all the rest of it. So I just want to bring you back down to the start again, and just to really focus on what is marketing about. And really marketing is about innovation. It's about letting people know what you do, letting people know that you're there, letting people know they can buy from you, but very much around value proposition, which is really what benefit do you bring to the customer. I gave an example last week around the fact that if you have a house in a field and no road to it, how will people know you're there? So your biggest task in your business is to let people know that you're there. And you can do that in multiple ways, which we've just gone over in the context of what the speakers have spoken about last week, which is PR, digital marketing, all the different aspects of marketing. So in other words, what most people focus on is a very fragmented approach to marketing. And what happens is the volume of leads coming through your business tend to slack off because you're just focusing maybe on where your customers are hanging out on one platform, for example, on social media. And then what's happening is there's great holes in your marketing strategy in that you're losing potential customers because you're not having a focused and innovative marketing strategy. So this session really is about just coordinating everything and making sure that you're looking about it, or that you're focused and doing it properly. Again, when you're looking at marketing, it's everything from advertising, personal selling, sales promotion, public relations, corporate image, direct marketing, exhibitions, sponsorship, digital marketing. I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. It is quite confusing. A lot of people say they don't have time for marketing, but to be honest, guys, you really, and ladies obviously, you really need to be looking at it, because really it takes at least 3 months in my experience to recognize the benefits of any marketing that you do. So for example, if you have no customers today and you start marketing today, it's going to take you at least 3 months. Does that mean you can't get anybody to sign up to you or buy from you in the next few days? No, it doesn't, but it means you maximize it in the next 3 months. Again, a lot of people are frustrated with the results, and I suppose, how do you start? So again, I spoke about the value proposition last day. It's about the promise of value to be delivered. And really what the customer is interested in is what value, what benefit do you bring to them? They're not really interested in the nuts and bolts of your business. Unfortunately, they're not really interested in how you're going to get it to them, how you're going to deliver it. They really, people are very much emotional buyers. So therefore, you've got to, first of all, understand the benefits of your service or your product to the customer, and then to be able to convey that message. So that's where your marketing communications comes in as well. So why does your business exist? What is the purpose of it? And what is your value proposition? So list, like I was saying to the guys the last day, please list the benefits and value you give to your customers, subscribers, or members, depending on what business you have. So what I'm going to do is just skip forward then to the marketing strategy aspect of it. You know, this is kind of obviously what I went through the last day, so I'll just fly through it. I don't want to be repeating myself. But again, a couple of things there. You know, success is built on focused marketing. If you think of the Wizard of Oz and the Yellow Brick Road, you know, there is a straight line to where they wanted to go, but they all went on often different tangents, and typically entrepreneurs do that. What I'm offering you here really is the opportunity to just go through it methodically. It might be boring, but unfortunately it needs to be done, and it means then that you have a more focused way of approaching your marketing, and therefore it will be more successful. So for example, treating your customers with, you know, like the red carpet, that you're giving them the best experience that they can, that the word of mouth is going to work really well for them. I also brought up the last day, as did a number of speakers, that those who tell stories rule society. That's from Plato. And that's very true as well. So how you tell the story about your business is really incredibly important as well. You heard many stories the last day from the different speakers, from Dermot about brew stoves, and many, many other speakers. And I'm sure many of the stories they were telling about their business and their experiences would resonate with you, and therefore you're more likely to, you know, want to approach that person and speak to them because of what they're saying. So I suppose today really it's, what is your marketing wish? What do you want to achieve with your marketing? You can see here, this is a picture I took myself down near where I live, where everything is peaceful and calm. Often that's not the case with your business, but you do have to be aware of certain things, like, for example, how are you operating? Are you good, average, or poor in the minds of your consumer? Again, I'm just reiterating very quickly a couple of things I would have touched on the last time. And really this is down to market research, which, as I said on the day, you can just ask people, have a cup of coffee with them. Yes, you can send out surveys, of course, but you know what? If you have a cup of coffee with somebody, as I said to you guys, you know, if you can record the session, ideally, you can just use your phones, just so you're not interrupting the person, writing down notes and whatnot, and buy them the cup of coffee or lunch or whatever the case is, but ask them really, really good questions and get some genuine feedback as to how people feel about your business. Because what that does for you is it helps you to understand how well you're doing. It helps you to understand any shortfalls you may have that you can improve on. And also, oftentimes they can have great ideas as to maybe a different offering or a slightly different improved offering that you could have for people that is your potential customers. So really, really, I'd advocate that you be constantly asking customers, just in general, not to drive them potty, but just to be asking them how they feel you're getting on. As I said the last day, SEO is incredibly important. That's really where you're coming up first, or, you know, as quickly as possible on the Google search, so that people can find you. The brand awareness, like Aideen would have covered with you, is really about your identity. It's about, yes, color, positioning, photographs, videos you're taking, everything like that. It's all encapsulates into the general idea of marketing, but also how people understand who you are as a business person, as a business, and what do you stand for. And what happens is that we self-identify with businesses that have similar values to ourselves typically, and that we like. So if you're into high-end brands, for example, you're probably going to veer towards buying high-end products and services. Some people are low cost, so they would do that as well. So it really depends on your customers and what they're looking for. But just as a business owner, that you are aware of how customers think about this and how you can best position it for your business. Customer data you can get from Google Analytics, you can get from Facebook Insights, and really what they do is help you to understand, okay, well, what are the numbers? You know, because sometimes you think, okay, well, 60% of my business is women, and maybe it's not. Go to the data, guys and ladies, and make sure that you know you are right, and just don't make assumptions. What is the profile of your ideal client or customer? And this is really where you just write down, are your customers 15? Are they 20? Are they 40? Are they 50? Are they typically men or women? Are they professional people? Are they working class? Not that I'm into class, but just really, you know, who are they? What do they stand for? Are they into outdoor sports? Are they into indoor sports? You know, what are they into reading? You know, just so you understand who they are. And then that will help you in your positioning and in your marketing message as well. Again, this comes down to age, gender, and who you target. So another thing to look at as well is 90% of all purchases are made subconsciously. And this is incredibly important to understand, because we assume we're very analytical, and we look at the functional values. So I gave an example of the car where, again, a friend of mine, she only knew I was telling the story, she went to buy a Ford Fiesta, ended up buying an Audi A6, and she had done all her market research. She'd asked everybody. It was a 1 litre. It was, a very functional car. She wasn't going to spend too much money. There was all the really good reasons why to buy it. She ended up with an Audi A6, and her answer as to why that was because she felt it was her. And that really comes down to self-identity, and it comes down to the fact that she felt that it really just suited her personality. So again, we are typically emotional buyers. So again, customers are not logical, they're emotional. So brands and businesses that evoke emotion win, basically. So just in terms of everything about the Marketing Acceleration Summit is really, really what I would hope from you guys is to hear back that you've accelerated your marketing, that you're creating your marketing strategy, that your businesses are growing, that you're not using the same old thinking, you're starting to use kind of newer ways of thinking about your marketing and being creative and innovative, and then you should have better results. So today is about targeting, it's about getting more leads if you're B2B, also to look at your positioning as well. Are you a nicher? So are you, in the horse industry? Are you in the agricultural industry? Are you into the swimming industry? What is it? Are you in? Are you a follower, a challenger, or a leader in the overall industry that you're in? Just in terms of sales, then you're looking at the initial contact, the qualification of that lead, the meeting, the proposal, and the close. So this is just to give you a general idea of, I said I'm flying through these because I'm conscious that I've gone through this already, but also I'm conscious that it's been a week, and therefore I just want to reiterate a couple of points. This is really just to, again, reiterate how busy the marketplace is, and that you must stand out. And the way you stand out, like everybody was saying on the day, as in the speakers, was to tell your story. It's incredibly important to tell your story, because how do you stand out? Like, you look here, best price, 20% off, best price, guaranteed this, guaranteed that, all these messages that are very, very similar. So in order to stand out, you've got to create your story, let people know who you are, let them know what your value proposition, in other words, what are your values? And therefore they're more likely to come to you because of those stories and because of that association, and that they will identify with you. Okay, you building long-term relationships. So this got to do with all business really. So it's about building long-term relationships, both consistency, integrity, commitment, sincerity, reliability, and trust. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you all want to make more money. Yes, it is about giving value for sure, but at the end of the day, this isn't about just, oh, I want to make millions and millions, and I'm sure some of you do. I'm sure some of you do. Excuse me, my daughter interrupted me there. Some of you will want to make millions, or whatever it is you want to make. It's not about the money, but it's more about, what is your focus? And really, if you're in business, the truth of it is that we do want to make money. And it's more the case of providing for our families usually, or wanting to have more freedom or whatever it is, but just that is on the table. The other point I made on the day as well about pain points, whereby, you have to look at your customer's pain point. In other words, what's the thing that's going to help them to buy from you? So sometimes, if somebody needs to lose weight, or, what is the thing that they want to do that will make them part with, say, for example, if your product or service is €1,000, what will make them buy it? So please understand your customers. This is about understanding their needs, not just your business needs, but your customer needs. The other thing here as well is about pricing. Are you expensive? Are you cheap? Are you, so cost-based pricing, value-based pricing? Are you top end? What is it? What are you providing for people? Okay, so now we have MAP, which is really all around creating your marketing strategy. So first of all, you've got to make the time to have a marketing plan. And really, if you only spend, an hour or two, something, that you've some bit of a plan. If it's just points, if you draw it out, whatever you do, but just have something you can refer to, and that you can refer to at least every week, and at the very least every 2 weeks. And the reason for that is just to maintain that idea of, okay, where am I going, and am I on track? So if you get off track, which of course we all do at different times, it means then that you've got to do something to change that. Okay, so the situation is, where are you right now? So where are you in your business? Are you in the red? Are you in the black? Are you making money? Are you not? How many offerings do you have? In other words, how many products or services do you sell? What's their price points? In other words, sometimes what happens, I literally just had a conversation yesterday with a client and some of their staff, and the conversation was, okay, are you busy? Yes, we're mad busy. But they were mad busy. And this is where you've got to look at, obviously, employees and the owners of a business. And these were employees that I was specifically talking to yesterday, and they were like, we're mad busy. And I just had to say, well, what are you mad busy at? And it came, what they realized at the end of the conversation by me asking lots of questions was they were busy doing admin. That did not mean necessarily that there was business coming through the door. So what's transpired is their idea is that they're busy. Their idea is that they don't have time for marketing. And lots of business owners get into this as well. So the Marketing Acceleration Summit is about working on your business and not just in it. And I'd highly recommend that you really take the time out to do that. So the situation really is, in that case, is that in actual fact, even though they're busy doing admin, the money is not flowing as it should through the door. So I said to them, okay, well, what's the highest value service that you guys have? And it was 4,000. I said, okay, well, are you filling that? So they do this one day a week. No. So they can take on 8 people every week in this business. And I said to them, well, on average every week, how many have you got coming through the door? And the answer was 3 or 4. So you can see they're running on half mast there. They're running at half. So of course, their business is busy in that they're busy doing admin and being super busy. And they're doing what they're being asked to do, obviously, as in their employees. But the point for me is that they're losing money because they're not marketing effectively to get business consistently through the door. Now, all businesses can run through this because sometimes what happens is your business goes really well and everything's going really well, and sometimes we take the foot off the pedal and we don't notice a dip for a while, but at some point you will notice the dip. So the situation analysis, where you are actually just very, very honest, and you write down where you are right now in terms of your marketing. Like, what are your likes on Facebook? What are your likes on Twitter? Like, in other words, where are you at? Benchmark. Can you benchmark against last year? If you didn't do that, just start it now. So in other words, list out all the likes, as in how many followers you have on the different social media. If you're doing email marketing, make sure you understand how many email addresses you have, how often do you email, how many people actually open those emails, what's your Google Analytics like. So you literally have to go through everything and look at all aspects of your business. The situation analysis also includes, looking at your money situation. Do you have loads of money in January and none in July, or vice versa? Is the cash flow running smoothly, and so on? And so again, situation analysis is really being honest about where you are right now. So the second part of that then is, how did you get there? So there can be good and bad. I often tell entrepreneurs, go back through your diary, be it digital or a written diary or both, and see, what have you been doing in the last 6 months in particular? Where have you been focused? Where's your time been focused? Are you training? Are you out on the road? Are you down in the shop? What are you doing? But are you marketing? Are you telling people that you're there? Are you driving traffic towards your shop or your website? Like, genuinely, are you? And if you are, how are you doing it? Are you being on social media every day, every week, once a week, once every 2 weeks? I had one client, and with a very focused email marketing strategy, no extra clients, anything like that, she earned an extra 5,000 on average per month because of a focused email strategy. Nothing else, just email. Took her 3 months to get there in terms of putting it all together. And the reason it took 3 months was because she was very untechy. So it took a while. Again, depending where you are, you might be quicker or about the same. So what I'm saying is, be real about how did you get there? Is it good? Is it bad? And take from both. Some things will be working well and other things may not be. And how can you improve? Refer to your SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So what's your strength in your business? Your strengths even, your weaknesses, your opportunities. So what opportunities are out there for you? Can you expand? What is it that you're looking at? The threats. So is there a new business the same as yours after opening up in the area? So just that you're honest again about the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and threats in your business. Then you could look at the PESTEL. PESTEL is political, it's economical. Can't speak today. But I have to think there actually. Political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental. So you literally list out those. So political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental. So under each of those headings, you write down exactly where you are in your business in terms of, and what I mean by political is, so for example, the recent referendum about the abortion referendum in Ireland, if you're in the pharmaceutical industry, it might have an impact. If you're a doctor, it might have an impact. If you're a nurse, if you run a particular type of practice, medical, it could have an impact or not. If there's different HR policies come in, the political environment can affect businesses. You can have, obviously, the budget every year. So politically, that can have an impact. Economical, then, in terms of the economy and how it's going. At the moment, ours is generally improving. The unemployment rates are down. Social, then, in terms of society and culturally. If you go to Japan, India, Europe, those are three very different countries. And you will find what's acceptable in one may not be acceptable in another. So you need to be very aware of the social and cultural climate where you're selling. Technological then can be things like social media. Is there changes? It can be software. The recent GDPR, that had an impact on people. So in terms of technology, and also that was obviously political as well. Legal then, are there any new legal requirements? Again, that would be GDPR as well, that you need to be very aware of. It can be new tax regimes. If you're going into new climates, is the tax regime different, and so on and so forth. And then environmental. So if you've got to build something new for your business, and then we'll say you've got to have an environmental impact study done, will the building not go ahead because of that? Environmentally, plastics, rubbish, different things can affect your business in different ways. And the SWOT analysis, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and the PESTEL will both help. Just do a list, don't make it complicated, just do a list and write under them. And then find out, and this is where it just helps you to map out, where are you? Refer to your value proposition. And I asked you on the day to write down your values. And your values are things like honesty, integrity, giving good service, so whatever it is that your business stands for. So customize a plan for your specific business based on what you've done. So in other words, what you're looking at just with point 1 to 6 is where you are up until now. And so the question now is, where do you want to go? So for example, if you've made 60,000 this year, maybe you've made 100,000, I don't know. But maybe you want to make 150,000 euros in the next year. So how are you going to do that? Well, first of all, what you've got to look at is, okay, well, you want to make an extra 50,000, assuming, you make 100,000 already. So if you want to make an extra 50,000, what you've got to look at is, first of all, what do you sell and what does it cost? So in other words, if you sell something for 5,000, how many of them would you need to sell to make 50,000? If you sell something for 50 euros, you obviously will need to sell a lot more to make 50,000. So you've got to really roll things back and look at, okay, well, what do I want to achieve financially? And then how can I do that in terms of what do I need to sell? And what that can do is help you to understand what do you need to be your bestseller and how are you going to market it. You've also got to look at the availability of yourself and your staff, if you have staff. I know many of you don't have staff. So do you need to hire somebody in, for an hour or two every week to do your accounts, for example, your cleaning of your house, cleaning of the office, whatever it is? So what's your availability? So if your time is spent on marketing, it's worth giving somebody 10 or 12 euros an hour, whatever it is, to do smaller things that can help you focus on driving your business forward. So here we have the steps. So number 1, what revenue do you want to make? And then from that, how much do you need to make every month? How much do you need to sell? So again, going back to my point there a second ago, if you have something for 50 euros, how many will you need to sell to make 50,000? If you have something for 2 euros, how many will you need to sell to make 50,000? And that will have a genuine impact on how you market your business. Will you need to do more Facebook ads? Will you need to do more Google ads? What will you need to be doing? So be very specific about what you need and then work on your marketing plan. How many products do you have? How many services do you have? What is your value proposition? Number 5. Your value proposition then, as I said, can be integrity, honesty, giving good service, whatever it is that you choose. Is your value proposition clear to your customers? So it's not just about you knowing it, excuse me, your customers need to know it as well. Number 7 is list the digital platforms you use. And the thing here is about going back to the benchmarking you've done already, where you look at and see, well, you know what, I actually only have 100 followers on Facebook. So the first question is, do I need to increase that? Is that where my customers hang out? Or maybe do I need to focus on LinkedIn, for example? So you need to decide that, and also to decide which ones are you absolutely going to focus on. Most businesses will at least have 3 or 4 different digital social media accounts running, but they will usually focus on 2, but maybe a third one running in the background. You have to make those decisions, and the main ones that you're going to focus on, not just because you like them, but because that's where your customers are hanging out. Number 8 is who's responsible for them. So oftentimes, you know, you could say your niece or your nephew or your aunt, your uncle, or I don't know, Johnny down the road is responsible for social media. But are they consistently doing it? So you have to make sure this is being done consistently. You've got your content marketing plan. Your content marketing plan then is really around, you know, what content are you going to put out? So when you are posting out on social media and digital platforms in particular, you know, is it stories? Is it videos? Is it Facebook Live? Is it blogs? Is it graphics? So all of those are content marketing. And content marketing is really where you create your own content, your own stories, your own videos. You're not taking them from anybody else. And you're sharing them out so that you can create more brand awareness for your business. And the idea of the plan is just that you're very focused, and it's not just ad hoc, that you're putting out 3 blog posts a year and thinking that's it, that you know, every week you're sending something out. And it's very focused, that you've got calls to action, that the graphics you're using are on brand, that, you know, so everything you're doing should really look at being very focused and being very driven. So content marketing is incredibly important. Now, some people's eyes glaze over at this point because they're like, oh my God, content marketing plan, another thing to do. You don't need to make, I have some very simple ones. It doesn't need to be complicated at all, but you do need to stick to it. That's one thing for sure. And what you have to remember as well is that 15, 20 years ago, there was no way a lot of small businesses could market themselves as well as they do today, purely because it costs so much to advertise on radio and on TV as well. So content marketing plan, yes, it's a lot of work in that you have to create content, create videos, create blog posts and so on. But the upshot of that is that you are driving the marketing. You are driving people back towards your website and towards your shop, and you have the autonomy to do that. So please look at that. If any of you want a content marketing calendar, I have one. I can send it on to you guys, and actually I'll just include it with this as well, and you can have a look at that. You've got to consistently market your business. You've got to check analytics, like I said, that's your Google Analytics, your social media analytics, to see where traffic is coming from. Like Victoria Mary Clark was saying, you've got to assess your PR opportunities monthly. So do you need to be in a specific industry magazine? Can you, instead of advertising, get interviewed? And who do you need to know to get those opportunities? So just to make sure that you're reaching out to people, like we were saying on the day, there's an awful lot of journalists in particular on Twitter. That's a really good thing to look at. You can also go to the website HARO. So that's really a listing where journalists are looking for information on specific topics, and sometimes you can get opportunities there. You got to make sure you're networking monthly, and this is where you're just getting out and about. People actually see you. You come out from behind the computer, particularly if you're working behind a laptop a lot. You've got to assess your offerings quarterly, number 14. And the idea of this is that you're making sure that everything, all the services, all the products you're offering, that actually, do you know what? Do you need to drop one? Is there something else you need to offer? Also, is there upsells? So what else does the client need? So if somebody buys a marketing plan from me, for example, I have to think, what's the next step? You know, do they need help with their digital? Do they need, you know, so what do they logically need more? They might need any more help, but you have to understand, do people need it or not, so that you can create offerings that help people. It's about being helpful. And of course, then you've got number 15, which is advertising. And advertising is obviously looking at Google ads, Facebook ads. You can obviously look at radio and newspaper ads as well. And like Gavin was saying, if you do a deal with the various networks, be they publishers for newspapers or with the radio stations, you can get a good deal. Just tell them what their budget is, and that's all you're going to pay basically. And you know, but you want to get a good deal for it. So I know that's a whistle-stop tour of your marketing, But again, I want to do this in about 30 minutes or so. I needed to reiterate on what I'd already done, but I hope this helps you guys just to map out, okay, just go step by step by step, and it just helps you become more clear. And clarity is everything, because once you start, okay, these might look annoying, you've got to figure some things out, you've got to think more, you've got to write them down, you know, and it can become overwhelming. But once you do them, you get more clarity. And with more clarity, then you then know every day what you need to be focusing on. Because sometimes in business, it can be easy to hide behind doing social media, for example, but maybe it's not proper as in focus marketing. So you need to look at that as well. So just, I'd say to you guys, take the time to do it and come back to us and let us know how you're getting on. Okay, so any Q&A, so any questions you have, you could PM me on Facebook or send me an email. I'll be happy to listen to any of them. Or also you can see with the email as well, I'm offering you the opportunity to speak to me for 30 minutes, complimentary. If you have any questions, you can ask me then as well. So I hope this helps, guys. I know some of them are laborious to go through, but genuinely, believe me, it's well worth it. The stats on, you know, businesses that are successful because of a plan, even if they don't necessarily stick to the plan, the very fact that they have a plan means that they're better clarity, more focus, and they drive their marketing more effectively because they realize that when they take the foot off the pedal, things aren't going as they should. So please just go through the steps. And I said, if you have any questions for me, I'd be delighted to answer them. And also, I'd really like to thank you all for being part of the Marketing Acceleration Summit as a speaker or as an attendee, because it's been wonderful hearing all the feedback, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all so much, and I hope to talk to you all soon.